Mr. Chairman.
Senator Rubio.
Secretary Nuland, does the United States recognize Juan Guaido as the president of Venezuela?
We recognize his leadership in Venezuela, yes.
Do we recognize him as the president of Venezuela? Is that not our official position?
It is.
So why would we meet with a dictator, Nicolas Maduro, without telling Juan Guaido or the ambassador here in the United States that it was happening? I know you told them afterwards. Why wouldn't we coordinate with them beforehand?
We did coordinate with them beforehand. We met with the opposition before that meeting.
You met with the opposition after that meeting?
I will take that. I think it was the other way around, Senator.
I assure you it was after that meeting, and certainly the ambassador feels that way. He was not aware of it until after that meeting. You are aware that the Venezuelan oil industry is in shambles after years of mismanagement, corruption, to personal piggy bank. They produce on a good day, about a quarter of what they're used to produce, what we would all remember as Venezuela. And every informed person in oil industry will tell you that if we were to buy all of it, and we can't because some of it's already contractually committed, it would be an insignificant impact on U.S. economy. So but it would be a huge benefit to Maduro. It would be millions of dollars for his personal piggy bank. So is this meeting, the secret meeting that occurred this weekend, which is published everywhere, is this part of a Russia strategy, or is it part of a general pivot in the broader Venezuela matter?
There's zero pivot in our Venezuela strategy, Senator. The first and foremost, and I can only talk about it to some extent in this setting. I'm happy to talk to you about it in another setting if you'd like, or after.
Well, it's not you. Not because it's classified, but because it's confidential with another government, another country. For
a number of reasons, but first and foremost, the mission was about visiting and checking on the welfare of our incarcerated Americans, the Citco 6 and the other 2. And as you know, we have made regular visits to Caracas for that purpose. We were also seeking to get the Venezuelan government back to the table with the opposition in the internationally monitored peace talks. And then there were a number of other things that we discussed that I can talk to you about in another.
Why did they leave those negotiations? Do you recall?
They left them because they objected to the extradition of one of
Alex Saab.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
one of
the guy that was
right.
helping them to
right.
steal gold and sell it to Iran.
But I think you'd agree that if they were willing to come back to the table with the opposition, that would be a good thing for the opposition's goals.
Actually, I don't really think it would matter. Maduro's he's a habitual negotiator, but he never leads to anything. That's why the Vatican won't even host him anymore. Other countries don't even want to be involved anymore. He uses negotiations the way Putin does, habitually, to divide and demoralize his opposition. I just don't understand why we think that cutting a deal with Maduro now to lift sanctions, as he yesterday bragged on television, about that meeting and how it's the end of, and as they mocked Guaido, that meeting did tremendous damage to the person that we recognize as the president of Venezuela. It's incredibly troubling, and it would mean nothing. We would notice nothing. He's more than happy to agree to negotiations. He uses them to divide the opposition and demoralize them habitually, the way Putin has done as well. I only have a minute left. Let me ask you, does Ukraine have chemical or biological weapons?
Ukraine has biological research facilities, which, in fact, we are now quite concerned Russian forces may be seeking to gain control of. So we are working with the Ukrainians on how they can prevent any of those research materials from falling into the hands of Russian forces should they approach.
I'm sure you're aware that the Russian propaganda groups are already putting out there all kinds of information about how they've uncovered a plot by the Ukrainians to release biological weapons in the country and with NATO's coordination. If there's a biological or chemical weapon incident or attack inside of Ukraine, is there any doubt in your mind that 100% it would be the Russians that would be behind it?
There is no doubt in my mind, Senator, and it is classic Russian technique to blame on the other guy what they're planning to do themselves.
Last question. I am certain that the Russians were looking at their reserves as a way to buffer sanctions. Do you know how, now that we've sanctioned the central bank along with others, Do we have an idea of what percentage of their reserves are frozen or inaccessible to them?
Virtually all of them are now frozen. You notice that the country's been under currency controls for almost 2 weeks now, and the whole point of putting so many of these top 10 banks under sanctions is to make it impossible for them to get access to their cash in hard currency.
Thank you. Senator Shaheen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for being here.